Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is DistroWars. Today we bring to you the brand new release of the long-term champion Linux Mint 19.3, of course the Cinnamon edition we are using today, against the brand new to the scene. Only two versions of this distro exist, and they're both less than about a month old. Ubuntu Cinnamon. We're going to give Ubuntu Cinnamon a little bit of a handicap because it's so stinking new, compared especially to Linux Mint, which is absolutely a mature and polished system. And again, we're going to highlight just a couple of the brand new features in 19.3 as we go through this, just because it just came out, and we'll do a separate video on that another time. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump on in. So we're going to start with Linux Mint Cinnamon. And over here on Linux Mint Cinnamon, when you first boot this guy up, you have the option to show a welcome screen, which you can disable it by turning off this check button here if you would like. You do have some amazing first steps. Launching system snapshots. This is like your old Windows restore point. It takes a backup of the system, but not a backup of your individual files. In case of a bricked update or a failed update or something, you can roll back to a previous version of your system. Driver Manager is going to be a tool from Ubuntu that is going to give you the ability to install proprietary drivers that were not installed by default. You do have an update manager. We will look at that in a moment. We do have a couple options of your layout. So we can go with our more modern, traditional Windows 10 type approach, or we can go with our older method here. And this gives us our quick launchers, kind of our old look. I like the look of the newer one, but I don't like the functionality as much. So I actually do have a video about how to get the old functionality back with the new modern look, which is the best of all the worlds. Let's go ahead and close this guy out. It's like, hey, you're in a virtual machine. We're detecting things. System settings over here, software manager over here, and we have our firewall settings. We also have documentation, help, contributions, and so in this new edition, you might notice that we have a little exclamation and a triangle down here. This is a new feature where it's going to show us any issues that it detects with the system, which you can allow them to, and you can permanently ignore certain systems if it's something that you're not using, like install language packs. Yeah, I don't need language packs, so we're going to ignore this problem. So setting a root password, you're probably going to want to set a root password. This is good for management. So the root account is disabled by default. You can set a root password, and in so doing, re-enable the root account, and then you can set up the system restore. Again, I am not a fan of using system restore on Linux. I find it just so much easier to make a backup of your home folder, install the new distribution, and drop your whole home folder back on top of it. I find that a little bit better. We do have system information here, and we have a crash report system here. Now, of course, Linux Mint does not like any form of tracking. So by default, Linux Mint is never going to send any information out to their systems. Isn't that kind of funny how, in my opinion, the best Linux distribution does not need to automatically upload data to make it better? Well, why is it that all of these ones that keep on uploading data to make it better keep getting worse? It's a fascinating question that we have. All right, and now we have our updates. So in our update manager over here, we're going to click OK because this is the first time we've seen it. It's going to be giving us this idea: do we want to change our local mirrors? We have an update to the manager. We're going to go ahead and apply this one because this one should not take a while. If it were full system updates, I would not run them. I just want to show you kind of what this thing does, and I can't as long as it's sitting here doing this. All right, let's, okay, update manager. All right, so here we can see the various type of updates that we have. We have a nice icon, which indicates the type. So this is a security update. This guy here is a kernel update, and we have here just a basic software update. You can kind of see what types the updates are. If you want to hold something back, you can uncheck it, and then it will not. You can also right-click these. You can ignore current update, or you can ignore all future updates for package if you want to lock it in. We can adjust our Linux kernels over here, and this will show us what we are on. We are on Linux kernel 5.0.0-32. We can actually go up to this one here. We also have these ones here. These are superseded. This is supported until August of 2020. So you can choose which Linux kernel you're wanting to use. If you're on older hardware, it doesn't really matter which of these kernels you want to use. If you're on newer hardware, you probably want to try 5.0 or 5.3. Noting, though, that 5.3 does have a few issues with some Wi-Fi cards. So keep an eye on that. So they've actually given us a driver that will probably not have any, because that's what Linux Mint is, just really good at doing things that work right. All right, so we can right click here. Actually, let's go ahead and have a look at what versions of everything we're using. If I can remember which one it is it system information? System info, there it is. So since we're both on Cinnamon, we are on Cinnamon version 4.4.5. One of you guys keep track of that. I may or may not remember that version when we go and look at it in the next edition. As far as software being installed by default, under our accessories, I love the fact that Linux Mint does have a bunch of lightweight general system tools. We do have, Redshift if you like adjusting your colors. I don't, but hey, it's an option for you. We have an archive manager, calculator, character map. Oh man, I love the character map. Believe it or not, you use character maps for putting in special characters and things, and it's an overlooked tool. It really is. It really is. I know that's kind of silly. USB writers. We have under GIMP. So they have removed GIMP. I said GIMP earlier. They have removed GIMP in the latest Linux Mint. The reason is GIMP is more complicated, and I understand their decision. You can still install it. You can still install either the Flatpak or the repository version. They just installed drawing because it's a more user-friendly tool for the basic person who does not get into graphic design. I actually support this decision. It was an interesting change for sure, but I support that decision. It made the systems more simple for the less computer inclined, which is exactly what Linux Mint tries to do. We have HexChat, Firefox, web browser, transmission, Thunderbird. We have the full Office suite, including our basic and things like this. We have celluloid now instead of the old X player because it has better, it basically utilizes the processor better, so it should give you a better, smoother experience. Another one of the changes that they just recently made. Various administration, our various preferences, places. Of course, our system settings over here. We have a variety of really nice themes. So our theming over here, we have Mint X, Mint Y, Mint Dark. We have, for our icons, we have a variety of different system setting colors we can do the same. These will basically just change your whole system controllers. Only a couple mouse pointers, a white and a dark one. And then over here, we have a variety, again, of different colorations or just kind of your defaults. So nothing else in here. Also, I'm guessing my anticipation is that we're going to see very similar systems and setups. I don't know for sure because I actually haven't looked at the Ubuntu Cinnamon yet. I installed it and that's about it. So there we have that. And let's see if there's anything else I wanted to do. I want to have a quick look at the software manager because that's actually important. We also probably have Synaptic on here. So yep, we do have Synaptic Package Manager installed, which is generally installed. I believe this is required. This might be required either for Mint or for Cinnamon. It's required for something in there, which I think is a great tool to have on the system. We do have over here, we have our the software manager, which I find to be one of the better software managers in the Linux world. We have our Flatpaks are isolated down here. If there is a software that does have a Flatpak and a non-Flatpak version, it does clearly state which one's which. So it doesn't say it right here, but when you click in on this, so you look at the GIMP, this one, let's see where this one's at. Okay, it looks like this one's giving us the version here that does not tell us the source. That means it's from the repository. This one here actually tells us down here, if you scroll past all this, that it does tell you that it is a Flatpak. So you can actually see where these are coming from. So that's actually a nice feature where you have the choices, you have the options. Of course, I want to do one more fun thing here. I want to sudo apt install Chromium because I want to see something. I don't know if that's Chromium or Chromium Browser. Is it Chromium Browser? I think it is. Okay, so we are installing Chromium Browser. It is installing from a repo. So the reason I'm going to look at this is because Ubuntu, if you install Chromium Browser through the apt command, you get a snap package. Isn't that awesome? And I'm pretty sure that Snap will not be on this because Linux Mint does not like it. Look at that. You can install Snap if you like snaps, but it is not installed. So we have a Chromium browser that is not a Snap package. So there is Linux Mint 19.3, brand new edition of Linux Mint. We'll do a video covering the changes and all that kind of stuff at a later time. But anyway, there is Linux Mint. Let's come on back with Ubuntu Cinnamon next. And here we are in Ubuntu Cinnamon Remix. Now, for those saying, I've never heard it. Really? Ubuntu has a Cinnamon edition? This is brand stinking new. I think the first version of this is back in November. I just downloaded this one today, which is just released recently. It's not on official distro watches yet. It's not an official Ubuntu flavor yet. Hopefully it will polish itself out, mature itself out, and become an official flavor. I don't know if it's good or not, to be perfectly honest. I haven't a clue because I just installed it and I didn't even poke around in it yet. So we are going to be looking at this with fresh eyes. First thing I would like to do is let's go ahead and pull out the About system while I'm remembering and see what versions we have. So, of course, we have an old version of Cinnamon. We have Cinnamon version 4.0. This is based on Ubuntu 19.10. We are running Linux kernel 5.3. So our Linux kernel is newer. Our Cinnamon version is older out of the box. Okay, another thing that I'm noticing just looking at it is we do have these nice icons. I think these might be Papyrus, but then our Firefox sticks out here like a sore, ugly thumb. If you're going to have these types of icons, we need to have consistency across the system. Obviously, if you have some weird, obscure application, you need to use whatever you got or make one. But for the most part, in this case, Firefox is a pretty standard item. I'm not sure why they're using Firefox's own browser icon for this. It does really make it stick out like a sore thumb. All right, other options inside of this. We are going to see a few changes in this that we did not see in Linux Mint because that one was a brand new version of Cinnamon. Let's go ahead and have a look at what we have as far as our file manager. That's our show our desktop. This is our file manager. I hate that icon. All right, so we probably are running Nemo, looks like. So we are running Nemo, of course, attached to Cinnamon, so that's good. The theming to me right now is kind of a little ugly. That's kind of a minor thing. I'm hoping that we can change our themes. And I'm not actually seeing a software update, or is this it? Oh, software updater. We have a software updater over here instead of in our task manager. So that's a little bit different. So it looks like it's using the basic Ubuntu updater. So it's kind of telling us that we have some things to update here. Ubuntu base. So this looks like the software updater for Ubuntu, which basically means we may not be able to change our Linux kernels as easily. Yeah, we can still do it. We will just have to use the online cases to do that. But let's go ahead and dive into, let's see what else we got. So system settings. Inside of our system settings, I predicted these would be very similar, and indeed they are. I'm not even seeing my driver manager. Okay, additional drivers. Let's see if this is the same thing here or not. Okay, so everything here is kind of tying into the basic Ubuntu packages instead of utilizing how Linux Mint does it, which basically means that you're going to have to search for the Ubuntu software and update system to do additional drivers and things like that. You're not finding that inside of the control panel quite as easily unless I'm missing it. Not seeing it there. Online accounts. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Let's go ahead and have a look at our theming options. I actually think the theming is pretty ugly. It is. Ugh. We got a light and we got a dark. So we have a Como light, we have a Como light, Como dark. What's our default? I'm not really feeling any other themes. I'm not feeling any other themes. They did get rid of a lot of the good themes that we have. Let's switch back to that. We have Como light, we have Como dark. I am not liking any of their themes. I would want to go in and add new themes. Their theming is pretty atrocious here. All right, there's system settings. Let's have a look at software tools. It looks like we have the GNOME Software Center. Holy bright green button. Ooh. Oh, I was hoping I would like this. We have the GNOME Software Center. respectable. Not my favorite, but it's definitely respectable. Let's have a look at GIMP. So we have GIMP is installed. There's 2 GIMPs listed as installed here. Not sure why there's 2 GIMPs listed there. That's one of the quirks that we sometimes find inside the GNOME Software Center. I find some things are just not there. All right, let's see what else we got as far as our applications go. Basic accessories. We are missing many of the accessories that makes Linux Mint so good, like the USB writers, other system tools, character map. I mean, I kind of only half joke about the character map, but it's actually something I use a lot, so I'd have to re-add it back into it. We have some basic games installed. We have GIMP installed. Looks like we have our LibreOffice Draw. We have Firefox, Thunderbird. We don't have the full Office suite, but we have certainly everything that a basic person is going to want to use. NovMPV. Yeah. What is it? Is it snap-lists? No, I'm trying to remember exactly how I list my snap packages. Yeah, I can't remember how to list my snap packages. But what I want to do right now is I want to... oh, hold on. Why don't I read the documentation? Okay, let's see. History, commands... I wanted to list what was installed as snap packages already. Snap list. No snaps are installed yet. So we have snap is installed, but no snaps are installed yet. So let's do a sudo apt install Chromium browser. Installing Chromium Snap. So if you want Chromium on this, you're getting Snap with Chromium because that's what I anticipated because this is based on Ubuntu. All right, so okay. Overall, here's my idea. I'm not liking it. So I find that the theming to be a little bit atrocious. Most of the things that really makes Linux Mint stand out are completely absent from the system. Even the things that make Cinnamon as a desktop environment stand out are absent from the system. The absolutely better software store, the absolutely better update manager with the kernel manager embedded into it, system backup, system updates, all this type of stuff is completely missing. We have theming that is not particularly good, including inconsistent theming like this icon pack with the Firefox default icon out there. It's going to take forever to finish loading that. We find that a lot of the applications that the basic system tools that might be useful are kind of missing. And I'm finding that the how everything is all integrated into the Ubuntu software manager is a little bit problematic in this case. So overall, I think this distro, it's going to work for you probably if you need something to work. But at the same time, it feels like it's really just missing, it's missing a lot of your things. Oh, look at this. Now that I installed Chromium, now I have Chromium, I have Core 18, I have GTK common themes, and I have Snapd. What? Okay, so apparently Snap was there and just not working. As soon as I went to install Chromium, now it just added a lot of extra stuff. So it says it added more core themes. Let's go ahead and check our themes. Let's see if there's more themes were added somewhere, just out of curiosity. They shouldn't because it looks like we do have more icon packs to choose from now. None of those were Firefox themes, so it installed extra icon packs for us. So that's what we could do with it. Here's panel settings. I'm going to close that. Yeah, overall, I'm not actually impressed with this. It's got a way to go. It's a maturing thing. It's young. Like we said, we were going to give it a little bit of a handicap because it is a brand new distro to the field. It's got some long ways. I'm not going to say let's burn it with fire at this point in time because it is so new. Let's give it a chance. Let's give it some time. Let's give these guys some feedback, and maybe we can get a very good, respectable system. I think the first simple things to do: work on the theming. The theming is pretty bad and pretty inconsistent at times. A lot of the best features of Cinnamon desktop environment are completely stripped out. So we have a traditional Windows-like feel, but really nothing else. All the things that Cinnamon brings to the table are missing. So I don't know. That's my final thoughts. So ultimately, right now, distro versus distro. I'm not really on the fence. I think Linux Mint took this one, even though we handicapped it. But I guess it was kind of like Mac going up against Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, if you remember that old game. So, kind of self-handed to itself. But it's a new distro. Let's revisit this in upcoming versions. Let's see what they do with it. Let's see if the community, if it's a community project that listens to the responses and the criticisms, and maybe we can see the reintegration of some of those things that really makes Cinnamon really stand out as Cinnamon. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.